Brothers and sisters, leaders and delegates of this distinguished gathering, I greet you from afar, yet I stand with you in spirit. Though I am not physically present in your majestic hall today, I am with you all, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of dignity, for the sake of our shared future. Distance cannot silence my heart, nor can it diminish the urgency of what I wish to share. My voice crosses this distance because our moment is too serious to remain silent. When I received the invitation to address you, I felt both a deep gratitude and a heavy duty upon my shoulders. Gratitude, because it is not often that an African voice is truly heard in a chamber of this stature. Too often our voices arrive only as echoes after decisions have already been made. Gratitude, because your invitation signals a recognition that Africa is not a distant spectator, but a living participant in the struggles, hopes, and transformations of this region. Yet along with gratitude comes duty, a duty heavier than protocol, heavier than courtesy, for silence when dignity is trampled is complicity. Silence when injustice spreads like a shadow is surrender. Silence when the pillars of our civilization crack and decay is itself a betrayal of the generations that entrusted us with leadership. Nyla, I stand before you today not to flatter and not to repeat comfortable phrases that have lost their meaning through overuse. I stand before you as a friend who has tasted humiliation and fought to reclaim honor, as a son of a small nation that has walked the hard road of rebuilding its dignity brick by brick, as a leader who knows, from bitter experience, the price a people pays when it surrenders its sovereignty to others. I appear not to act as a guest seeking applause, but as a partner compelled to speak plainly, because the time for polite euphemisms has passed, because our people, whether in Africa or the Arab world, deserve honesty more than ceremony. Because if we cannot speak truth to one another in this hall, then all our declarations and communiques will be nothing but paper, and our children will inherit only disappointment. We are gathered here today under circumstances that are nothing short of extraordinary. This is not one of those routine summits where we meet, exchange pleasantries, sign communiques, and then disperse. This is a gathering that has been born out of a tremor that has traveled across continents, a tremor that has shaken not only our institutions, but also the hearts of ordinary people. From the bustling markets of Marrakesh to the ancient alleys of Muscat, from the shores of Dakar to the gates of Damascus, from the red dust of Ouagadougou to the shimmering skyline of Doha, an invisible thread of shock and grief now connects our peoples. Mothers whisper about it as they prepare food for their families. Students debate it late into the night in cafes and on social media. Workers pause in their labor to shake their heads in disbelief. It is not simply an incident, it is an affront to dignity that reverberates in every home. You know the event I refer to. It is no longer a matter of speculation or rumor. It has been played and replayed on every screen, discussed in every parliament, analyzed in every newsroom. You know the pain it has caused. The pain of seeing sovereignty diminished, of seeing the safety of a host violated, of seeing mediation mocked. You know the outrage it has sparked. Outrage not only at the act itself, but at the seeming impunity with which it was carried out, at the casual way in which others treat the lives and the dignity of our people. Yet, brothers and sisters, what matters even more than the event itself is our response to it. History does not only record the actions of those who offend, it records the reactions of those who are offended. The incident, grave as it is, will one day fade into the annals of the past, but our reaction, whether it was timid or courageous, divided or united, will define the legacy of this generation of leaders. Shall we once again take refuge in the language of procedure, issuing statements of concern, expressing our deep regret, calling politely for restraint, and then quietly returning to business as usual? Shall we content ourselves with drafting paragraphs that sound strong but are never acted upon, while our dignity continues to be eroded piece by piece? Or shall we at last stand up as a people of honor and say enough? Shall we find within ourselves the courage to move from words to deeds, from posture to principle, from slogans to strategies. The question before us is not simply about condemning a single act. It is about deciding what kind of nations we wish to be. Are we to remain reactive, perpetually surprised, perpetually issuing communiques, perpetually calling for others to respect us, while we ourselves refuse to respect our own power? Or will we rise to become proactive, shaping events rather than merely lamenting them, defining the terms of engagement rather than having them defined for us? The people who sent you here are watching. They do not measure your leadership by the eloquence of your statements, but by the effectiveness of your protection. They do not measure your solidarity by the number of summits you attend, but by the courage you show when their dignity is threatened. They do not measure your independence by the flags you fly, but by the decisions you take without waiting for approval from distant capitals. The choice is stark. We can either continue on the path of timidity, where our summits are stages for ceremonial indignation and nothing more, or we can make this summit a turning point, a moment when leaders who have been passive became actors, when those who have been fragmented became a community bound by principle. I urge you to look beyond the incident and see the pattern. Each time our sovereignty is mocked and we respond with hesitance, we invite repetition. Each time we divide ourselves into camps and wait for others to mediate, we weaken our own hands. Each time we outsource our dignity to statements written for us by foreign advisors, we become less credible in the eyes of our own citizens. This is the real crisis. Not only what was done to one of our members, but what we have allowed to be done to our collective will. So let us not allow this gathering to dissolve into routine. Let us not leave this hall as we entered it. Let us not mistake catharsis for courage. Let us instead transform our shared outrage into a shared resolve. Let us show our people and the world that there comes a point when enough is truly enough. My brothers, my sisters, my elders, my peers, the frankness of youth and the responsibility of leadership. Too long have we built palaces for meetings, but not foundations for self-reliance. Too long have we allowed others to write our security doctrines, to set our economic priorities, to choose our friends and our enemies, to dictate the rhythm of our progress. We have let ourselves become spectators in our own theater. It is time to change the script. For decades, many of your nations have been blessed with immense resources, natural, cultural, human, spiritual. You have built cities of glass and steel, towers that pierce the sky, and fleets that circle the globe. Yet when dignity is threatened, when sovereignty is mocked, you gather like today, and your words are strong, but your posture is hesitant. You speak of unity, but act as fragments. You speak of independence, but rely on external patrons. You speak of honor, but outsource your protection. My friends, this contradiction cannot continue. I do not speak from a place of arrogance. I speak from experience. My own country, Burkina Faso, is small. We have known poverty, instability, external manipulation. We have no oceans of energy beneath our soil, no vaults of gold overflowing. Yet, when we decided to reclaim our dignity, when we decided to stand on our own feet, we discovered a strength that had been sleeping inside us. It was not easy, it demanded sacrifices, but it restored our soul. I ask you, if a small landlocked country can begin this journey, what prevents great nations with vast wealth from taking the same road? I say this because I care for you, because Africa and the Arab world are not strangers. Our histories intertwine, our faiths, our languages, our markets, our cultures have crossed paths for centuries. When you are humiliated, we feel it. When we are insulted, you should feel it. Our destinies are linked, whether we admit it or not. And yet, how many times have your policies been shaped not by the wisdom of your ancestors or the aspirations of your youth, but by the scripts written in foreign capitals? How many times have you acted not as free actors, but as executors of agendas crafted elsewhere? My friends, this is the wound that must be healed. I hear constantly about international alliances, about partnerships, about strategic understandings, but I ask you, where is your alliance with your own people? Where is your partnership with your own region? Where is your strategic understanding with Africa, with Asia, with the emerging world that shares your grievances and your hopes? You look outward for protection while neglecting the power of your own neighborhood. You open your markets to those who exploit you while closing your hearts to those who resemble you. This is not destiny. This is a choice, and choices can be changed. Respect for sovereignty is not a slogan. It is the lifeblood of any free nation. Without sovereignty, a country is a flag without wind, a palace without foundation. If the sovereignty of one is violated today and we respond with timidity, whose sovereignty will be violated tomorrow? If you allow a precedent to stand unchallenged, you invite repetition. And if you are divided when dignity is insulted, you are complicit in your own humiliation. I call on you, leaders of the Arab and Islamic world, to raise your eyes above the horizon of fear and convenience. Stop measuring your responses by the comfort of foreign patrons. Stop outsourcing your security. Stop pretending that statements equal strength. Begin to build what I call the 3 pillars of dignity: self-respect, self-defense, and self-reliance. Self-respect means never speaking with 2 tongues, one for your people, another for outsiders. It means aligning your public statements with your private commitments. It means refusing to be instruments in games you did not design. Self-defense does not mean aggression. It means credible capacity to deter violations, capacity that rests on your own institutions, not on rented shields. Self-reliance means developing your economies in ways that serve your youth, not foreign contractors. Developing your industries to transform your raw materials at home. Building your research centers to innovate rather than import. Some will say this is a dream. I tell you it is a necessity, because dependence invites disrespect, because fragmentation invites manipulation, because timidity invites encroachment. The world you are entering is not the world of yesterday. Power is shifting. Alliances are shifting. Demographics are shifting. Those who are not prepared to stand on their own feet will be trampled. In Burkina Faso, we have begun crafting modest models to escape this trap. We invest in our local farmers, not just to feed ourselves, but to feed our neighbors. We prioritize vocational training so our young people build and repair our infrastructure instead of waiting for foreigners. We create regional security arrangements with our immediate neighbors, not with distant powers. These models are humble, but they are seeds. If each of your nations planted such seeds, pooling your funds, your knowledge, your technology, you could grow forests of self-sufficiency. Imagine an Arab-African economic corridor built by your engineers and ours, powered by your energy and our minerals, managed by transparent institutions accountable to our people. Imagine a collective security mechanism, funded by your own resources, guided by a doctrine rooted in your own values, designed to protect civilians, commerce, and critical infrastructure. Imagine research universities where your brightest minds and ours collaborate on renewable energy, water management, digital technology, and defense industries, tailored to our realities, not copy-pasted from others. This is not beyond reach. What is lacking is not capacity, but will. I know there are obstacles, entrenched interests, external pressures, internal rivalries, but leaders are not chosen to manage the status quo. Leaders are chosen to transform it. History does not forgive timidity at moments of decision. This summit can be a footnote or a turning point. You decide. Some will whisper that Traore is too young, too idealistic, that he does not understand the complexities. But I understand this. Dignity is non-negotiable. Sovereignty is non-negotiable. The future of your children is non-negotiable. If you cannot defend it today, you will regret it tomorrow. I speak to you also as a father, as a son of Africa, as a friend of the Arab world. Your youth are watching. They are not blind to hypocrisy. They are not deaf to excuses. They are hungry for authenticity. They are ready to sacrifice, but not for nothing. If you show them courage, they will support you. If you show them hesitation, they will turn away from you. And when youth turns away, regimes fall like sandcastles. Therefore, let us pledge today not another empty communique, but a genuine shift. Let us pledge to respect each other's sovereignty as sacred, to stop undermining each other for the applause of outsiders, to build economic and security models rooted in our soil. Let us pledge that the next time dignity is challenged, we will not simply gather to express concern, but to act with unity and credibility. Let us pledge that we will not wait for outsiders to solve our disputes, to mediate our crises, to finance our defenses, to define our priorities. Let us pledge to ourselves that we will be authors of our own destiny. I stand with you in this effort. Burkina Faso stands with you. Africa stands with you. The Global South stands with you, not as a guest, but as a partner, not as a beggar, but as a builder. Together we can design a new architecture of solidarity that spans from the Atlantic to the Gulf, from the Sahel to the Levant, based on mutual respect and shared responsibility. Brothers and sisters, this is the hour when history itself leans forward and asks you, with a voice that cannot be ignored, will you continue to drift like a ship without a rudder, or will you dare to take the helm and lead? Will you continue to outsource your future, handing over the keys of your own house to strangers, or will you reclaim it with your own hands and rebuild it with your own tools? Will you continue to act as instruments of others' designs, echoing words and policies drafted far from your own soil, or will you rise as the authors and protagonists of your own story? The choice is not an abstract one. It is not a choice for tomorrow or for the next summit. It is a choice that begins right here, right now, with each breath you take and each word you speak in this hall. It is the difference between a region that remains a theater for the ambitions of others and a region that becomes an architect of its own destiny. Look around you. Look at the maps, at the corridors of wealth, at the pipelines of ideas and capital. Every day decisions are being made about you, without you. Contracts are signed in your names by hands you have never shaken. Strategies are drawn that use your resources but bypass your voices. This is not a law of nature. It is the result of choices. Choices to drift, to defer, to depend. Yet just as the past was shaped by choices, so too can the future be reshaped. There is nothing inevitable about dependence. There is nothing eternal about subordination. History offers countless examples of peoples who, at a decisive hour, looked at the pattern of their decline and said enough. They turned their frustration into focus, their humiliation into discipline, their fragmentation into solidarity. You, brothers and sisters, stand at such an hour. The question is not whether you have power. You have land that could feed millions, seas that could link you to the world, minds and youth whose creativity could light up the future. The question is whether you have the courage to align that power, to cultivate it, to deploy it for your own collective good, instead of leaving it scattered for others to harvest. For too long, we have allowed ourselves to be managed like pawns on a board. We have learned to recite the vocabulary of sovereignty without practicing the discipline that sovereignty demands. We speak of independence, but rely on external guarantees for our security. We speak of dignity, but adopt policies designed for the convenience of others. We speak of unity, but treat one another as competitors rather than partners. This is why I say the eyes of your people are upon you. They are not impressed by the splendor of this hall or the length of your convoys. They are watching to see whether you will finally act as custodians of their hopes rather than caretakers of someone else's agenda. They are waiting to see whether this summit will be just another ceremony or a turning point. And know this, the eyes of Africa are upon you as well. Africa watches because our destinies are entwined. The trade routes of the future run across both our regions. The security of our waters, the flow of our energy, the movement of our youth, all of these link our continents. When you falter, we feel the tremor. When you rise, we share the uplift. The old walls between Arab and African are illusions when it comes to dignity and self-determination. And beyond Africa, the eyes of the entire world are upon you. They are watching not only out of curiosity, but out of calculation. They want to know whether this region will continue to be a place where decisions are outsourced and sovereignty is negotiated away, or whether it will become a community that speaks in its own voice, sets its own terms, and contributes to humanity as a partner rather than a client. Do not underestimate how closely you are being observed. In villages and cities alike, ordinary people are following every word and gesture from this summit. They may not have your titles, but they have a moral instinct that is sharper than any diplomat's briefing. They know when leaders are sincere and when they are pretending. They know when leaders are acting out of conviction and when they are simply echoing what was scripted for them. This is why I urge you, do not squander this moment. History rarely gives the same test twice. The conditions that brought you here, the shock, the outrage, the sense of common injury, will not last forever. Outrage fades, habits return. If you do not seize the chance to transform your outrage into a program, you will return home to business as usual, and your people will file this summit away as yet another performance. But imagine another path. Imagine that you leave this hall having decided to stop drifting. Imagine that you return to your capitals not with another communique, but with a plan for genuine cooperation, to develop your own industries rather than import them, to train your own youth rather than export them, to protect your own skies and seas rather than rent that protection from strangers, to resolve your disagreements without mediation from far away. Imagine that you reclaim your own narrative so that your children will read a history in which their leaders rose from dependency to dignity. It will not be easy. It will demand discipline, patience, and a willingness to disappoint those who profit from your weakness. But the alternative, continued drift, continued outsourcing, continued acting as instruments, is far harder. It is the slow suffocation of your people's hopes, the quiet erosion of your sovereignty, the withering of your future. So brothers and sisters, the question remains, and it is urgent. Will you continue to drift, or will you dare to lead? Will you continue to outsource your future, or will you reclaim it? Will you continue to act as instruments of others, or will you rise as the subjects and authors of your own story? The choice is yours. The eyes of your people, the eyes of Africa, the eyes of the world are upon you, not as spectators, but as stakeholders in your courage. Make no mistake, history is not a neutral observer. It will record this hour. It will record whether you allowed yourselves to be swayed by inertia or whether you seized the moment to redefine what leadership means in this region. And one day your children and grandchildren will read that history. They will ask, when our leaders were tested, did they drift or did they lead? You have it within your power to ensure they can answer with pride. I close by reaffirming what I said at the beginning. Though I am not in your hall today, I am with you all, for the sake of humanity. My voice may be distant, but my heart is near. My challenge to you is not a rebuke, but an invitation to courage, to dignity, to unity. Together, we can transform humiliation into strength, dependency into self-reliance, fragmentation into solidarity. May this summit be remembered not for its protocol, but for its breakthrough. May it be the moment when words became will, when leaders became servants of their people's dignity, when history turned a page and a new chapter of sovereignty, self-respect, and self-reliance began. Thank you.